Pride Plant Girl here. Today I'm going to be planting out my tomatoes. It's March 31st, and when I count back through my calendar, I know that tomorrow is going to be 7 weeks before my average last frost date. Most tomatoes need to be planted inside about 6 to 8 weeks before you're going to be planting them out, at least in my area, which is zone 3. So I want to give these plants a good chance to get going and be nice strong plants before I put them out into the garden, because they are going to have a very long growing period once they get there. We have about 110 days here of frost-free growing days. So some of these varieties are 85, 90-day varieties. I need to get them started and get them going so that they can give a good push once they get out there. I warm the soil and I put protection on them in the beginning, so I actually put my tomatoes out generally, depending on the weather, right around my average last frost date. If you aren't going to be able to do that and you need to put your tomatoes out a little bit later, then you probably want to be planting a little bit later on than I am, like another week or two, depending on your zone. So I am going to be putting mine in the soil right now, the seeds, and getting them started, because like I said, I'm going to try and push my season as far as I can once the frost is out of the ground and I can get things warmed up. I already have things in place outside warming the soil as we speak. I'm just going to show you real quick the varieties that I'm going to be planting this year and growing on, and then I'm going to put a few out and just put a few seeds in and just show you how I'm doing it, but I'm not going to bore you with watching me plant all of these seeds. I'm planning on growing 9 varieties of tomatoes this year. The first variety that I'm growing is one of my standby varieties. It's a Roma. This is just an F1 hybrid, and it's a good paste tomato. It's great for sauces and things, but I like them anyway. I eat all the tomatoes just fresh in salad things anyways. I also have some seeds saved, so I'm going to be planting one bunch up with some of my saved seeds and see how that goes. Most years I have good success that way, but I always like to have a little bit of store-bought just in case. This is another one of my favorites. This is a Manitoba tomato. This is a great early tomato. What is it? It's 55 to 60 days. It's a bush type, determinate tomato. Here, I don't feel like that really means a whole lot, other than I don't need to worry as much about getting it all staked and pruned. We have such a short season. The bush type is going to produce for, a good month or so anyways. Like people say, oh, they all finish at once, but I mean, it's not like you go out there one day and all the tomatoes are ready to be picked and you pick them all and then you have no more tomatoes. It doesn't quite work like that. So these will last me this summer. Never had one quit on me before the cold yet. A new one I'm trying this year is Mortgage Lifter. These are supposed to be really big, very heavy producing tomatoes. They were developed or discovered, I guess, in the 1930s. They're supposed to be like 1 to 2 pound tomatoes. So I'm really excited to try these and see if I can get tomatoes that big in my little short season garden. These are an 85-day tomatoes, so we'll see how they go. Another new one for me this year is a San Marzano. It's also a paste tomato, and I've heard a lot of people review it as a better tomato for taste and production than the Roma. So I'm going to dedicate some space to trying these out this year and see what I think. These are 68 day, which is really nice for my area. Oh, this is one of my favorites. This is just garden snacks for me. This is chocolate sprinkles. I discovered this a couple of years ago, and I've been growing it ever since in my garden. These are just teeny tiny little cherry tomatoes, and they're just like seriously the size of chocolate chips, and they are just so sweet and perfect to me to just munch on. I just they grow so plentifully, and I just grab handfuls of them every time I'm out there, and I just snack on them while I'm out in the garden working. So these are just my garden snacks. These are new to me. This is the Blush cherry tomato. They're a yellow cherry tomato with they're supposed to have just a pink blush to them. I like yellow tomatoes, and I thought it would be nice just to have something with a little bit of color, something different to put in salads and that. So I'm going to try these out, and I'll let you know what I think when they get going. These are 70-day tomatoes. These, again, a new one for me this year. This is a Japanese black trifeli tomato. These are an 81-day variety. They're supposed to be a pear-shaped mahogany fruit tomato. And these came highly recommended, I believe it was by Deborah Christmas. I will try and find the video one of the videos where she's talking about these, but I'll definitely put a link either in the description or up above here so you can check her channel out. She grows a lot of great tomatoes, and her tasting and descriptions of the food she grows are they're more than I could ever do. So they're great to watch and see how she uses these tomatoes. This is just a mixed cherry tomato. So it says there's a combination of honeybee, ladybug, and orange monarch. So these are an indeterminate, and they range from about 60 to 65 days. Just reading the label there to check that. I have saved in here, I have a small little baggie of seeds that I saved from the orange, which must be the orange monarch. And I replant those. Those have been my favorite out of all the tomatoes I've gotten out of this mix. So I usually just save some seeds out of one of the orange ones every year. So I'll plant one pot with just the saved seeds and one pot with the mix and see what I get out of those. This is black crim. I love black crim. Again, I discovered this tomato about 2 years ago, and I've been growing it ever since. And it's an 80-day tomato. It's a staking tomato. Big, beautiful tomatoes with like a dark, kind of purpley black blush on the sides. When you first grow them, it can be a little bit difficult to tell when they're ripe. I know I gave some of these some extra plants to my mom last year, and she was like, "Are they ripe? Are they ripe?" They need to get that blush down the sides, and then they'll turn red at the bottom, and they almost look like they're overripe to me when they're actually ripe. Like, I want to pick them before that, but you almost need to wait till they look, in my mind, what would look like overripe, and then they're ready. Beautiful tomato, delicious tomato. So I'll get a few of these planted in the garden as well. So like I said, that's 9 varieties of tomatoes that I'm going to be starting on in the house and growing out in the garden this year. Some of these I'm going to be giving away some of the plants, but I will have at least one plant of every variety in my garden. I'm not going to bore you with planting all these seeds. I'm just going to show you with one variety, because it's the same with all of them, what I'm going to do to get them planted, to get them started here, and let you know what I'll do as they grow, and then I'm just going to plant the rest on. You don't need to watch me plant all these seeds. Okay, so I'm going to start with the black crim. So that's the ones I'm going to show you. So the first thing I did is I made some markers. Now I'm just going to be using small pots. I don't know what these are. 5 centimeter, 2-inch pots. Oh, they have tags from what they were bought in them. So they're 2.5-inch pots. So that's what I'm using. And I have some soil that's, it's just regular potting mix. And my potting mix that I buy it's just potting soil. It's not special seed starting mix or anything. And I just add a good couple of handfuls of perlite and vermiculite to the soil. And when I have it, I add some cinnamon. The cinnamon's just an antifungal. It's not important. It just gives me a little peace of mind when I'm growing things inside. But I'm out of cinnamon and can't go get more right now. So this is what I have. I've just moistened it enough. You can see it'll clump together, but when I gently touch it, it easily falls apart again. And the reason I add the perlite and the vermiculite when starting the seeds is just to give it, they both will help with, it seems contradictory, but they'll both help to hold some of the moisture in, but they won't allow the soil to get waterlogged. So any excess soil is going to drain through because it makes the soil more porous. There's more room, and it also, because of that porosity, will help get oxygen to the roots without being giant holes, giant gaps, because if you have a big air pocket in your soil, that can actually be bad for your roots, but you do need some oxygen movement through your soil. So a little bit on the soil, so I'm just gonna gently put soil in each of these little containers, so just like that. And I've just gently packed it down again. You could give it some taps, you can bang it on the table, whatever you want, just to make sure that you don't have air pockets in it. So for each of these types of varieties of tomatoes, I'm going to do 2 of these little containers. They'll all be exactly the same. So there's the seeds. If you've never seen tomato seeds, that's what they're like. They're almost, to me, they're almost like dried up bits of like thicker paper. The texture is just a little bit different to me than some seeds. They don't have that kind of hard or waxy coating to them. So tomato seeds like to be about half a centimeter or 1/4 inch deep. And I am going to put about, I'm going to put a few in each container here. So I'm just going to set them across the top. So what is that? There's 3, 6, there's about 9 seeds. I'm trying to space them out so I kind of have 3 rows of 3 here. Not cooperating with me today. Take the extra seeds, and over top of those pots I'll dump them back in the container, so if any drop, hopefully they dropped in the pots. So hopefully you can see that I have approximately 9 in each container, just kind of made into rough rows of 3. It doesn't really matter. They're spaced out. I'll grow them in here. Hopefully every seed is going to germinate, but I've planted a few extras. There's more here than I'm going to need. And these are going to grow on until they get about their first set of true leaves. So let me just cover them up, like I said, with about 1/4 inch of soil. Don't need very much. And I'm just going to put a light sprinkling of vermiculite on top, and a little shake. Give it a little pat down. So a little bit of vermiculite, a little pat down, just to make sure there's good contact for the seeds and soil there. label in. So after the seeds have been planted and the vermiculite is applied, I just like to give them a little spritz of water just to moisten make sure that the top where the seed is moist. And I will check on these probably twice a day now, and just make sure that the top of the soil is just moist. You don't want it waterlogged, but they can't dry out, because once the seed has moisture in it and it starts to germinate, if it dries out, all the openings of the seed as it was trying to germinate and let the roots and sprouts out, they kind of close back up again, and generally seeds won't open again and germinate for you if they're allowed to dry out after they've begun that process. So I'll just make sure the top of the soil, the first couple of centimeters, inch or so, is staying consistently nice and moist. And I'm going to put them in a nice warm spot until I see germination. Then once they've germinated, I will only water them from the bottom. And I'll just again make sure they're not sitting in water, they're not waterlogged, but that they have some heft to the pots and they're staying moist enough. Then once they get those first leaves that come up, the cotyledon, or however you say that, those first leaves aren't true leaves, they're just what the plant uses to push through the soil, break through the seed. And then once they get their true leaves, which is the next set, I'll look for those true leaves, either the first true leaf set or the second true leaf set, depending on where they are. I try to have most of them ready by the time I divide them up. So I'll take them, right now there's 9 seeds planted in here. I will separate them out into 9 pots if all seeds germinate, or however many I have, so that each plant has its own pot. And I will plant the entire stem in the soil. And then I'll just keep bumping them up pots like that. And I'll probably do a video later on to show you how I do that. So I'm just going to keep planting on. I have, I think, 16 more pots to do. And that's how I do my tomatoes. One more thing that I've started to do is when I open a new pack of seeds, I write the year on it. And that way I know how old the seeds are from that package, and I know when they're getting old. Most seeds, tomato seeds, seem to be able to last a really long time, but it's nice for me just to reference to when I'm looking through and go, how old are these seeds? Or if I've accidentally bought a couple of packages of the same seed, I can use up the older ones first. So that's just something I've started doing in the last couple of years. But that's pretty much all there is to getting tomatoes planted as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to continue on with the rest here, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.